What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Mac and Reed Show right here on Second City Gridiron. Follow at Second City Gridiron for all your Bears news all season long. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get the audio-only versions on Spotify and iTunes. Remember to like, subscribe, tell a friend or two across all platforms. Look up the great articles our cohorts write, of course, at Windy City Gridiron, at WC Gridiron on social media. I am Evan Mack, at The Real Evan Mack on social media, as always, joined by my co-host. He's got Kimmel DVR tonight. He had a Wiener Circle hot dog for breakfast, and he is getting into that rapture mood, listening to some REM. He is at Ross Reed on social media. It's Ross Reed, folks.
That's right. Great intro. Happy Victory Tuesday. I wish I did have a Wiener Circle hot dog today. That does sound amazing. I didn't get a chance to make it up there. I'll go and support them this weekend and pay some money. And
that's what I'm talking about. Victory Tuesday, indeed. Let's go. I should also say you DVR in America's Got Talent for Leo High School in the finals.
Oh, that's right. I used to play against Leo High School. I went to De La Salle on
I did as well. Catholic.
Yeah, 35th in Michigan. So, yeah, we played against Leo all the time. So, even though they were our rivals, good luck to those guys. We're in solidarity with anybody from Chicago rivals. Catholic school.
They got to do something different than Imagine Dragons for me, though. I want to see them tear the roof off. But it was like, why are they doing Imagine Dragons of all the things they could have done? Take nothing away from those young men, though. Very cool story for sure. But, yeah, the Rapture today, Ross, before we get into our main show, are you prepared for it?
I have no clue what the
South African pastor predicted that the Rapture was today. And like many of those predictions, like all of them so far, it will be wrong. And we will wake up and tomorrow will be Wednesday and it will be the same weird, wild world that we live in.
Unless he just meant, raining free hot dogs all day, then that's what the Rapture is. And I'm all for that. It's like, you ever seen Magnolia? It's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. And at the end, the frogs are coming down. And speaking of, there's a new PTA this movie this weekend. So I'm excited about that. Yep.
Battle after another really well reviewed. It's a hot Halloween costume coming out. Very easy for all the boys out there doing it. But yeah, shout out to the Bears. We're going to talk about that first dub of the season. Very Bears heavy show as usual. Dive into how they got it done against the Cowboys. Really just never any doubt that they were going to win that game. And, just a complete team performance. Talk about it all. We'll talk about what to expect against the Raiders. Keep that momentum going as the Raiders are not world beaters by any means, but one game left until the early bye that the Bears have. We'll have some injury notes as well and some grades on everybody from the coaches to the D linemen and beyond. And NFL headlines already. Some pretty wild ones going into week 4, and it's all flying by, but some great action. Let's talk about the Bears. And again, first dub of the season is the sweetest, especially when you consider it was against the former head coach who kind of put you in football purgatory and Matt Eberflus, which is not to be said that Ryan Poles didn't do that as well, but Matt Eberflus did not help. And so you're going up against his coach team, and you beat them very soundly with the quarterback who, many thought that he misused. 31-14 was the final. And we've talked about all the highlights at length, but it just needs to be said again that, Caleb Williams, you're seeing a progression. And any given Sunday, any of these teams can challenge each other regardless of record. And Caleb Williams just really showed up, and he was so poised. Like from the onset, it was so cool to see that early touchdown to Rome. You're like, all right, he's having a day here. He was accurate. He was standing in the pocket, shout out to the offensive line doing well. The design quarterback runs were good, showed that arm strength. It was a game just long in the making for sure, I feel like, with this team needing a blowout win in the worst way. Great to see Ben Johnson get that first win. Luther Burden getting involved. We talked about the rookies not being involved at all in the first couple weeks. Finally, with that flea flicker, it really went well for Caleb Williams. And even though, on the note of the offense kind of fumbling, DeAndre Swift, it was really a bad flea flicker that hung in the air forever.
Wait till you see the throwback. Oh, my God. Almost that up.
Yes, you did. And, another poor showing from the run game, but he sure got bailed out. Him and Monungai got bailed out by just a great Caleb Williams game where he was, almost perfect, I feel like, as far as those those 4 darts that he threw. Think about that. Last time you've seen a 19-play touchdown drive from a Bears team, I don't think that that's ever happened for them to keep going. And then to convert on 4th down to a wide open DJ Moore was just the cherry on top. In addition, the defense showed up. But we'll start with Caleb Williams' discussion. And I think, needless to say, Ross, he really impressed and lived up to the hype and the pressure and elevating his team and getting that win.
Absolutely. It was a big spot for him. We talked about it last week. He went out and he performed very well. We talked about last week the Bears getting the football and trying to start fast on offense. They didn't start fast after they got it, but they were able to still put up 14 points in the first quarter. And credit to Caleb Williams, credit to that offensive line, who I think when they interviewed Caleb at the end of the game, that might have been the cleanest jersey I've ever seen on the Bears quarterback to finish a game. He didn't get sacked. He didn't get sacked. He really got hit and pushed. And when you keep that young man upright, he's able to make some great plays, keep his eyes downfield. His footwork looked very good as well. And Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, we knew he was going to have some tricks up his sleeve against Matt Eberflus. We knew that locker room wanted to go out there and beat him. And we knew this was a little bit of a kitchen sink game. You don't want to start a season 0-3. You don't want to lose your first 2 games at home. And now you carry a little bit of momentum going into Las Vegas, they're struggling right now. And all eyes are on the Bears want to be 2-2 going into the bye week. But circling back to Caleb Williams, I thought that was his best start, his most complete start in a Chicago Bears uniform so far. Yep. And now you look in 3 games into the season, he leads the league in touchdown passes. He's got 7 touchdown passes right now, only 1 interception. And you look also with those young quarterbacks, and everybody was thinking last year, this is why you got to really pump the brakes on who you crown early on. And Jaden Daniels didn't play on Sunday. And Bo Nix does not look very good right now. And you look at, Drake May, struggled at moments. And you've got Spencer Rattler. J.J. McCarthy has an ankle injury right now that is keeping him out for a couple weeks. And all of a sudden, Caleb Williams looks like the unquestioned, first overall pick. And now you just need to build momentum. You have to keep stacking on this. You hope, like you said, you get the run game going right now. I think that's going to be very important going forward for this Bears team. They got to get Swift going. They've got to get more touches to Kyle Monangai and see if we can get these guys downhill so Caleb Williams doesn't have to throw for 300 yards and 3-4 touchdowns a game. But listen, a win, offense looked good, and it's cool to see the Bears fans feel really good after Sunday into today, and enjoy your free hot dogs, obviously.
And they were lined up down the block in the rain at the Wiener Circle for those who missed it, and quite awesome seeing Caleb Williams' dog hang out there. Yeah, very super nice, super. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you talked about the offense. 385 total yards was really impressive, and you could talk about the Cowboys and just everything's been downhill since that Micah Parsons trade. Everything going wrong for them. But you talked about that Eberflus connection, and you want to show up and show this guy, you don't miss him, that it's a new chapter, and you're missing out now. And with Ben Johnson, it was just about getting that first win for him and Caleb Williams going out and doing what he does. And it was just big play after big play with the, Cole Kmet only getting that one catch, but getting the tight ends involved. Colston Loveland with a big 30-yard completion as well, or 1 catch for a completion. Then Luther Burden coming out for over 100 yards and 3 catches with the flea flicker like we talked about. Getting those guys involved is crucial because you have all those weapons and building that chemistry. And it speaks volumes of offensive line when you talk about, Braxton Jones, who had allowed, 12 pressures going into that game. He didn't allow 1 against the Cowboys. Granted, not as great defenses perhaps, but still, again, any given Sunday, it says a lot when you don't let your quarterback get hit like that. And Caleb Williams did not get hit. It was awesome. And the defense, really showing up. Tremaine Edmonds with his first 2 interception game. He had 15 tackles. It looked like he might miss the game, but I mean, really just impressive and just shows his toughness, and the guy who, is really under the microscope because of how much money he's getting paid to play linebacker for the Bears, and Bears can't afford any more injuries on defense at this point, especially in the secondary with Jalen Johnson out. setting the tone. I think Tyreek Stevenson with that punch out, or the old peanut punch, was incredible. And you see that the defense was like, all right, the offense is going to get theirs. Let's also get involved here. You know, Montez Sweat finally getting a sack this season. The defensive line doing some great things, getting after Dak Prescott. And it speaks to Dennis Allen, too, and the way he's coaching these guys, because you're going to be out for a while. You're going to be out for the rest of the season. Most likely there's a chance that Jalen Johnson comes back, even though he just had surgery. But the way that this secondary is constructed, and, Kyler Gordon hopefully getting healthy as well, you need these bodies in there to help, because it just gets tougher after the bye with the tough wide receiver and tight end competition that you're going to have, especially in the NFC North as the second half comes around real quick. But the defense, I thought, really showed up. And, yeah, I think they got another good chance to play very well and create some turnovers against, a reeling Raiders team this Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look on paper, there's a huge bounce back game for for Tyreek Stevenson, who really struggled the week before, obviously against the Lions. They picked on him, but I thought he played well. That strip fumble that he had at the beginning was a huge momentum shifter there, as the Cowboys were trying to go down there and kind of rally and score a little bit. But then you look at the defensive line. Dennis Allen, he went more towards zone coverage, knowing that he was undermanned in the secondary, and those guys hung up pretty well. Nashawn Wright, was a little questionable at times in his coverage, but I thought he played better. I think most importantly, the defensive line picked up the secondary, especially as the game went along. They had 2 sacks on Dak Prescott, but then they had 7 quarterback hits in total, and it was a collective group action, right? You talked about Montez Sweat, who was getting in the action, but Dominique Robinson was a little bit friskier in this game. I thought Dexter Sr. had a good bounce back game as well, because I thought he was terrible against the Lions. Grady Jarrett finally got involved with a big hit. He had a BS penalty called on him after he broke through, or else he would have had another hit on the quarterback. And that's what they're going to need for the rest of the season. They need this defensive line to really get a push and put some pressure on the quarterback, because the secondary right now, until they get Kyler Gordon back, until they get Jalen Johnson back, they're going to be a little outmanned a little bit. They get another favorable matchup again against the Raiders. Their offensive line is not ideal either. Their receivers aren't world beaters out there. And I'd like to see the Bears in that defense continue to put the pressure on Geno Smith, who's having a really rough start to the season. But hit on that, Jermaine Edmonds, who went out there. That we talk about Caleb Williams, maybe that was his best game as a Bear. That might have been Jermaine Edmonds' best game as a Bear as well. I mean, he had 2 interceptions. He had 15 tackles total, a couple pass deflections. He was awesome out there, and that's what you pay him for. Noah Sewell was also awesome. I think Noah Sewell's had a really good season being out there for TJ, who's been injured, TJ Edwards. And hopefully they get some reinforcements back this week. Hopefully you can see Edwards play on Sunday. Hopefully you can see Kyler Gordon get out there and play on Sunday as well, and get this team healthy. And then going back to the offense, with the offensive line, I mean, again, another great bounce back game for Braxton Jones after he was very shaky. He looks like he's getting his legs underneath him as well. And I can't say enough good things about Darnell Wright, who's really turning into a really good right tackle in the league. He still has to cut down on some of those penalties that he has. I think also the refs are picking on him a little bit. But my God, his pass protection is just absolutely outstanding right now, which is great to see, because he's a young, homegrown talent from Ryan Poles, and he's going to be in line for an extension here soon. And give it to him.
It's only a matter of time before we see him running routes into the end zone. He's going to be that fourth wide receiver on the field, or third tight end option, whatever you throw out there as an extra lineman too. And yeah, I think the defense just has to get a couple guys healthier, and you'll be all right. I think scheme goes a lot into it, and it especially such a good opportunity when you start off real rough with the Vikings and the Lions. The worst, so to speak, is behind you going into the bye week. You can keep this momentum going, and then even if a couple of these guys are not ready to roll this Sunday against the Raiders, then they will be after that. But it's wild to see the progression of Caleb Williams when he's at his best like this, when he is in the pocket and he doesn't have to run for his life. When you see what's on paper, how it should perform on the field, and you see this in reality like this, it was just had Soldier Field rocking. And it just really made you forget completely about that Detroit game. And you think about all the criticisms, like certainly they're there. And certainly this team isn't, you're not saying like they're Super Bowl bound or even going to take the North, but you see that this is these are the things that you can do every game to make it competitive and to make sure that you take that momentum away from your opposition. And they did it right. I think, special teams is the only real phase that we didn't talk about much, and it was more of the same. We're not seeing crazy kickoff returns or even Cairo Santos with the few opportunities he gets. He's not going to beat you with his leg, but it is especially gratifying to just see this offense rolling like it does, because it helps take that pressure off the defense. That was the big criticism for me in the first couple of games. So with Caleb Williams now, it again, that Raiders defense isn't really scaring anybody. I know Max Crosby is one of the best, outside linebackers out there, but I really, like their chances going into Sunday against the Raiders in another primetime game. They're getting Tony Romo and the crew.
Yeah, they get another 3:00 game. I know. I know that Raiders Stadium, Allegiant Stadium, which is a beautiful stadium, is attached to Mandalay Bay. Is going to be filled with a lot of Bears fans this weekend, and it's going to be a lot of Bears fans that now have a little. They've got a resurgence, a nice sense again of optimism, because it was pretty doom and gloom coming off that Lions game. We found out last night. We'll talk about that game. The Lions just might not. They haven't skipped a beat. We thought that maybe losing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, they were going to take a big step back, and nope, they're just a really good team. That week one Packers loss might have been just an aberration a little bit, but yeah, now you get this Raiders team, and again, Geno Smith, he's going to give you the football. He has 4 interceptions already on the season, and they haven't really been able to get Ashton Genty going in large part because their offensive line is just not good, and Chip Kelly is the play caller there. Chip has probably seen better moments at this point in the league. They gave up 41 points to the Raiders. And this is kind of when you say, when people say, well, you beat the Cowboys. You look at the Cowboys, and now you got I don't care. It's a week-to-week league. You get wins where you can get them. I don't care if they were playing the Little Sisters of the Poor and they scored 45 points on them. A win is a win. You have to go in there this weekend against the Raiders and continue to build on this offensive momentum. And if you can get that going heading into the bye week, and you can get this win and the offense looks good, then all of a sudden you start to really, really stack some confidence in some games, and maybe things start to look better as you head into October.
Yeah. When you're hanging or letting Washington hang 41 on you without Jaden Daniels, troubles are coming at this point. And they're back home. But I feel like there's no home field advantage with the Raiders. It's just such a destination for these opposing teams, too. It's like you said, a lot of Bears fans going to be there. But that aside, they have to still keep this momentum rolling, right? And I want to see that, like Dante Purify pointed out, the end rounds, the quarterback designed runs, just opening up that playbook was a long time coming. Even, it's a very young season so far. But the kind of quarterback you have, the kind of talent you have. Outside of the run game, we saw every aspect of it that was really clicking. And, and again, the only thing missing is throwing offensive linemen in the end zone at this point. I'm sure that is still up his sleeve. You don't want to pull out all your tricks so early in the season. But, the run game has to be improved upon. It was like a 50-yard game all told with the runners. I think Caleb can be pushed a little more to run the football as well. But certainly DeAndre Swift had, more receiving yards than he did rushing. And the offensive line knows that they need to do that. You need to run the damn ball and take pressure off Caleb Williams and company. But really good chances for them to beat the Raiders. We got to talk about CJ Stroud, going back to him big dogging, Caleb Williams, and just that stat line at this point. The tail the plot thickens even more so, because CJ Stroud has just looked pedestrian since that time too. And I feel certainly too on that note that the criticisms of Caleb Williams, it just really brought people back down to earth. And those who were like, you might want to put Tyson Bagent in, people need to slow down and know that this is the quarterback of the future, and he's not going anywhere. And a performance like that makes you realize that is the absolute truth.
There were some throws that he made on Sunday, and I'm not here to disparage Tyson Bagent. I think Tyson's a good kid. I think his extension was well deserved. Yeah. He's the backup for a reason. And you see, there's 3 throws and 3 plays that you see, right? The first one, obviously, after Swift just lollipops that flea flicker up there and like an alley-oop, and Caleb was able to get it down, hand in the face, and he just uncorks a beautiful pass to Burden down the field. It had the most air yards traveled this season out of any quarterback. I think it was 63 yards was the air yards. And Bagent just doesn't have that kind of arm strength to be able to pull that off. The same thing with the play before the half that allowed them to get that touchdown, which really I thought broke the backs of the Cowboys. That pass down the middle of the field to Luther Burden over 2 linebackers, and he just drops it into a bucket. You have to have just an incredible amount of arm strength and precision to be able to pull that off, and he did that. And of course, the DJ Moore play, which wasn't flashy, the touchdown, but he's able to kind of move around, buy some time in the pocket, and allow DJ Moore to find the back of the end zone. And he just rifles a strike to him for a touchdown. And those are the differences between elite arm talent and ability versus, a guy that might be a career backup. And again, this is not to disparage Tyson Bagent, but to say Caleb Williams has all the tools in the world to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. And we hope that he can continue to grow and build off of this. And also, the CJ Strauss part, these quarterbacks take time. And there's a lot of ebbs and flows with these young guys where you're going to see a lot of these guys go up and down. And a lot of it is predicated on what does the offensive line look like around him? What do the weapons look like around him and things like that? I think Stroud right now, he's got a bad offensive line. He's got a pretty non-existent running game with the corpse of Nick Chubb and a couple other guys. He's got Nico Collins, who has made some mistakes as well, and not much else on from the receiver situation because Tank Dell obviously is coming back from a catastrophic injury. And that's what it looks like right now. And there's a couple other guys around the league that have had some rough starts to the season. And so we just need to be patient with these young quarterbacks. You never know if somebody's elite after 1 season or 18 starts. It really takes a good 2 to 3 years to know, all right, this guy's got it, or maybe he doesn't have it. And sometimes it even takes longer than that. It's a very non-linear situation.
It takes all those guys on the roster too, right? You figure the offensive line, just look at last year too. A lot of it was not Caleb Williams' fault for setting that, franchise high in sacks allowed. It really goes back to the weapons on the field, and you can go back a few years as well to the Justin Field era as well, man. It takes a real cohesive roster, and you talk about the Lions and the Eagles and the Chiefs and those who are really dominant consistently. There's a reason for it, and the jury's obviously still out on Ryan Poles. It's that type of game where you have faith in him, and then the game against the Lions where you're like, what the hell is he doing? So let it continue. As far as Sunday's concerned, Loveland apparently missing any major injury. He looks like he's just questionable at this point, designation. Kyler Gordon, has missed all the games so far. Maybe he suits up Sunday. It's pretty 50-50 right now. TJ Edwards may just benefit. All those guys benefiting outside of Colston Loveland, benefiting from going into the bye and then coming back out. But given that, Nishon Wright, guys like that who have stepped up on defense, and Noah Sewell, like you mentioned, really playing well, let them get those reps. It's going to make them better. It's going to make that defense better ultimately when you have the depth as well. And the offense it's a show. This is what you wanted. This is the Ben Johnson style offense. And you hope to see similarly putting up 30-ish points against the Raiders. We'll give predictions at the end. We're very pumped. Any other Bears notes for you, Ross?
No, just, to speak on the Loveland part of it, I let's hope he can get back out there sooner than later, because I did think that he was going to be a focal point of the offense on Sunday. It looked like, Caleb and Ben Johnson were making it a point to try and get him the ball early and often. I think Caleb missed one throw to him early in the game. That was one of Caleb's, few misses on the game. Then obviously the big catch that he had over the middle to get the first down was beautiful. And you want to see Loveland get out there again, because I think, again, young players, it's hard to go from the transition of college to, oh, by the way, I got to prepare for a combine. Then I got to prepare for the draft. And then whoa, I'm a pro now. And coming with a pro means I got to find a house and I got to move and I got a mini camps and I got this new team. I got this new playbook. And then, oh, there's training camp. And then the season starts. It takes these guys a while to get really comfortable to what the NFL looks like. And so, and also the Bears have a decent amount of weapons around them. This isn't like the Colts where, Tyler Warren is going to get a ton of targets because there's not much there outside of Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce. The Bears have some options. Caleb Williams completed the football to 8 different receivers on Sunday. So I'm hoping that hip injury doesn't keep him out long. I think they're going to have precautions with him. He probably won't play this Sunday. Let him rest, let him get into the bye week, and then hopefully we can get it back out there because he's going to be a big part of this offense going forward as well. And also very professional from Cole Kmet so far this season. He's done everything that they've asked of him. A lot of blocking, a lot of the dirty work that you see out there. He really isn't a primary receiving option anymore. But when he is, like we saw, he can still score a touchdown. This guy's still 6'5", 250, 260 pounds. So hopefully he can continue to get some opportunities as well out there. And hopefully they can carry this momentum into another win. 2-2 going into October, you feel a lot better about the season and the situation.
Yeah, Cole Kmet, good for those home run celebrations and good for a 3-touchdown game if you give him the chance. It's just about those opportunities. He was, 1 catch for one score, 10 yards. And he's willing to do that dirty work like you mentioned, too. And Loveland, there's just a lot of mouths to feed. And it goes back to Caleb Williams getting familiar with not only a whole new offense to run, but these new weapons that have welcomed in Bird and Loveland, and then getting Rome kind of up there. And then DJ Moore, who said he's not happy? Now look at him. He's super pumped, and he's talking about. We didn't even talk about Rome Odunze's fro. Are you guys have a costume coming together in the near future? You guys gonna?
He's motivating me. I got a birthday coming up next week. I might go birthday fro action. So he's motivated me to wear the fro. So he looked great too. He looked like I tweeted. He looked like Shock G from Disney.
Yeah, I like that call.
That is showing my age right there. Shock G reference. But yeah, absolutely. So shout out to Rome, who also leads the league in touchdowns right now for receivers. Credit to him.
Impressive performance for the Bears. And a fun week 3. In the NFC North, like you talked about, the Lions haven't taken the foot off the gas since that blowout win against the Bears. Talking about the Monday night performance and a very un-Derrick Henry-esque when they forced a fumble. Aiden Hutchinson forcing that fumble against him is just insane to see from the King to have that sort of fumble. But even bigger storyline is them winning against the Ravens on the road like that, 38-30, is pretty impressive. And they got one of the best running tandems, the best running tandem in Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And they look, tops of the league right now. And just when Green Bay, you thought they were rolling, they go and just have a stinker. And Cleveland in 13-10 couldn't hold on to it in a very low scoring affair. And we saw Sean Judkins come out. But yeah, there's some 3-0 teams out here still. We saw the Eagles escape with a win at home against the Rams, which was super impressive. I think that, again, kind of building off what they did in the previous couple of weeks was the Indianapolis Colts, who are super impressive to me. Just that Jonathan Taylor is ageless. I know that they haven't really beaten any huge competition yet, but beating the Titans and keeping them down is huge. When you're putting up 41 points, they're like leading the league in scoring, I think, right now. And the Vikings just bouncing back right away, not having J.J. McCarthy and having Carson Wentz in there, putting up 48 against the Bengals, doing it in all phases was super impressive. The Bucks, we talk about how good they are in Baker Mayfield and company. And just when they're rolling, of course, Mike Evans goes out with a hamstring injury. Hopefully it's not for too long. Hopefully Godwin comes out and he goes back. But Emeka Egbuka is just one of those rookie of the year candidates, leading, I think, right now for at least offensive rookie of the year. Really impressive, that team as a whole, to win the way they did against the Jets after that blocked field goal attempt was ended. Aaron Glenn dance, which has now been synced up to Earth, Wind, and Fire all over the internet. Pretty incredible. And Commanders, hanging 41 on the Raiders. Jaguars staying in the win column over a close win to the Texans. Texans 0-3, like we talked about, Ross. They're just reeling right now. And then the Chargers, another undefeated team, and Justin Herbert just nasty right now. That's a tough Broncos team, and I know they're 1-2, but they could be even better at this point. And 49ers remaining unbeaten without Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. Chiefs finally getting a win against the Giants, and we'll talk about Jackson Dart taking over for Russell Wilson. But what else stood out to you after week 3, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, I think stock high for me right now on the Chargers and the Bucks for them to go out there and win those 2 games. And I think right now, we talk about quarterback play in the NFL. They're getting elite quarterback play from Justin Herbert and Baker Mayfield right now. Again, 2 top 10 picks. Baker Mayfield, of course, was a first overall pick at one point with the Browns. And I just love his fire. I love his tenacity. I love the fact that, they're dealing with a bunch of injury issues and situations. And he just finds a way to put that team on his shoulders every week and gets a big drive to win a football game. And once you get into the end of the year, into the playoffs, that's the kind of guy that you want leading your football team. It's why I thought the Bucs were a really sneaky Super Bowl contender. This is the yearly Mike Evans injury. He goes out for 2 to 3, 4 games every year. As long as you get him back by November, December, he's going to be okay. You talked about Egbuka. He is absolutely phenomenal talent. They're going to get Godwin back this weekend. They're going to get Wirfs back this weekend. I'm just a really big fan of that Bucs team and what they're doing and what Todd Bowles is going there. And then the Chargers, I mean, my goodness, they did lose Najee Harris for the season. He popped his Achilles. That's going to be tough, but they got a Hampton, the running back. That's why they drafted him. Now all of a sudden he's going to be the unquestioned RB1, their bell cow guy. But this is the Justin Herbert that all the nerds said he can do this, and everybody was like, well, when's they going to really show up consistently? It's here now, and they look like they've been the best team in that division all year round, when a lot of people, of course, had the Chiefs that were going to be there, and people, the Broncos were the sexy pick this year. Bo Nix can't really get it going like he wants to. And then, just on the negative side of things, Texans and Falcons, man, that Falcons game.
I was just thinking about the Falcons.
Yeah, I bet on them, thinking, they're going to be able to go into Carolina and take care of them, and Penix should be able to score, and Bijan should be able to run on those guys. And they just put up an absolute stinker. They all of a sudden, Raheem Morris calls Zach Robinson down from the booth now to the sidelines to coach this weekend coming up, and they fired a couple positional guys, and that's not a good sign where 3 games into the season you're already firing guys on your staff. That means that you're also fighting for your own life right now. And the same thing with the Texans. The Texans they just cannot get that offense rolling right now. And as much as I like DeMeco Ryans, that offensive line situation, that offense, he might be a scapegoat at the end of the season. There are some guys that are on coaching fired alert right now. Callahan, I think in Nashville is one. Of course, Mike McDaniel, we didn't talk about last week, the Thursday game, even though they hung in there against the Bills, they still lost by 10. Tua had another brutal interception that he does. So I think McDaniel is on that list. I think Raheem Morris might be on that list. And unfortunately, I think DeMeco Ryans might be on that list as well as a possible firing guy, because if you can't get that offensive rolling, you can't develop Michael Penix. They're going to find somebody else that can do that, preferably on the offensive side of the ball. So we'll see if the Falcons can get themselves out of a little hole after what I thought was an impressive win the week before.
Yeah. And then the Steelers going to 2-1, Aaron Rodgers on perhaps his last season. He's trying to let it all out there, but it helps when his defense is forcing 5 turnovers against the Patriots. And the Rams still seem like a pretty solid team, even though they dropped that game against the Eagles. I echo what you said about Penix and the Falcons, just how loaded they are offensively. And it's just so head scratching to see them put up 0 points against this Panthers team, which is a 1-2 team. It was, an 0-2 team going into that game. And the Texans, that they just have to figure that out, whether it be, where the offensive line, it's looking like they can't really do much about that, 3 weeks into the season at this point. Chargers, I'm excited to see what happens, as they go down the schedule. They've played all AFC West opponents mostly. And now into week 4, Seahawks Cardinals looking good as your Thursday nighter. I'm into that matchup. We got an Ireland game. Are you into the Ireland game, Ross?
Listen. I'm a fan of the early morning football game. Little eggs, some coffee, and I don't know if I really want to see Aaron Rodgers on my TV at before 10 o'clock in the morning. That's the only thing. But that's an interesting game because that Steelers team. They're 2-1, and Rodgers has actually played pretty well. He's got 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But they've given up some points, that Steelers team, which is uncharacteristic of them, and they've been ran on a lot. And the Vikings come in. KOC is one of the best offensive lines in football. He's got Carson Wentz out there, but what they can do well is they can run the football very well, and they don't have. They lost Jones; he's on IR, but they got Benson, right? No, they don't have Benson. They have Mason. Mason is the backup running back. And that young man looks like he's going to take that job and not give it up long term. So that's going to be a fun game.
I also like, in that slate, the Eagles and Buccaneers. I mean, what's not to like there? Of course, the Eagles visiting the Bucs and Baker Mayfield going without Mike Evans, but still just such a loaded offense playing the undefeated Eagles. And then the afternoon, Colts and Rams should be a good one. Jaguars and 49ers could be spicy. And then the Ravens and Chiefs so early on. Looking at this, a lot of hate between these two teams, no love lost in the AFC. This is a great one. When they're both just trying to figure out their identities at 1 and 2, I feel like at this point, when they're both Super Bowl contenders going into this, and Chiefs finally get that monkey off their back with the first win, albeit against a lowly Giants team, but then the Ravens so close to having a winning record against that Lions team, playing tough competition. I'm curious to see how they perform in Arrowhead, and then that revenge game as the Packers go to the Cowboys, and Micah Parsons is going to get after Dak. That should be fun to watch.
Yeah, that Ravens Chiefs game, that's a battle of two teams that thought they were going to be Super Bowl contenders. They're both 1 and 2 right now. The Ravens are favored in that game, but after what I saw from their defense yesterday, and Derrick Henry keeps putting the ball on the carpet in rough spots, I'm not going to quite call this a loser leaves town match, but if you're starting 1 and 3 in those divisions, it's not ideal. So this is going to be a kitchen sink game for both Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, 2 former MVPs, of course, because somebody is going to get their season back on track, and then somebody's going to be pressing the panic button after they're going to be 1 and 3. And then another loser leaves town game is Titans Texans. I think whoever loses that game, they go down to be 0 and 4, and it's panic time.
They don't get to be a franchise anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if Callahan loses that game and he goes 0 and 4, he might get fired on Monday. Again, another first overall pick in CJ Ward. If you're not developing him and getting him on track, then they're going to find somebody that wants to get in there and fix that situation. So there's some interesting matchups, and we also get 2 CJ Ward, Cam Ward. You also get 2 Monday night games this week as well.
Another double header. And then we didn't really talk about it, but Russell Wilson getting pulled for Jackson Dart for the Giants, and they're hosting the Chargers. Do you think it's too soon, or was this just a long time coming? You got to put the young man out there.
I mean, here's the thing is, if you watch that game and you saw Russell Wilson throw the ball out of the end zone about 5 to 7 yards from the goal line, and when they needed to, just throw it up for grabs at one point and see if your receiver can make a play. He threw out of the end zone 3 times. I think at that point you start to realize, all right, this is probably coming to an end a little bit. It's been a great career, but you're most likely a backup at this point. The game's moving a little too fast for you. You're probably seeing some ghosts a little bit. They've already been mixing in Jackson Dart on some of those RPO plays and stuff like that. I think Brian Daboll wants to run that offense that he ran very similar with Josh Allen, but you can't do it with the kind of athlete that Russell Wilson is at this point. So, I don't think it's ideal to put Dart out there against that Chargers team, which is very tough and very feisty, but you're in the NFL. At some point, you got to go out there and you got to win. So, and very true. At least he gets to wake up to see her, and he's got a beautiful family. He's a rich man. I don't feel bad for Russell Wilson.
Wake up to her goodies. Was that one of her songs?
Yeah, that's her. That was her. That was
her
hit.
Song?
That was her biggest hit.
Woo!
Biggest hit. But I think for Jackson Dart, you're going to see a very fast welcome to the NFL kid moment for him in this game. Because
I'm not saying he'll be the savior, but it does feel like, and you talked about it in the preseason, that it might be just a matter of a few weeks to get him out there and just be a breath of fresh air, because the Giants, it's bad for football in New York. You look at the Jets and Giants right now. Jets, this last game, week 1 against Pittsburgh, just can't catch a break. A different story for the Giants. I feel like just getting thrashed. And with Malik Neighbors, they got some pieces on defense. Cam Scatterbo, a great pick at running back. You feel like there's some silver linings, but just bad, 0-6 combined record in New York right now.
They've got an amazing defensive line too. They spent a lot of premier top end picks on that defensive line. They just can't get going. They're 0-3 right now, and that coaching staff, that general manager, they're all fighting for their careers right now, which is why you have to go to Jackson Dart. You have to see what you have in a young man, and maybe he can provide a little bit of a spark and get them going, which is kind of what he did in the preseason. And he was a very exciting guy in the preseason, but this is very, very different now. This is Justin Herbert, who's an MVP candidate, and that defense over there with Derwin James and Khalil Mack and a bunch of those guys is a really, really feisty group, and they're going to be coming into MetLife Stadium on Sunday ready to pin their ears back and really go after this young quarterback. Let's see how he responds.
Let's see how it goes in week 4. On the football note of movies, Ross, your boy Jordan Peele and him. I hear it's not well reviewed.
That was a produced by Jordan Peele, which usually means like, here's a check, go make your movie, and I don't want any other part.
Attach your name to it,
exactly. But it didn't look good. Football movies, we've never had one that is quite like a football horror movie, I think it could. I almost want to see Jordan Peele's version of it, which I know when this movie was announced years ago, I thought that was the direction that they were going, but that wasn't the case. But just all the more reason we're overdue for a new Jordan Peele project. Nope was a few years ago. I enjoyed Nope a lot. I enjoy all 3 of his movies right now, but we're due. But it's PTA week, baby. We're getting one battle after another this weekend. I'm all in on PTA. We waited a long time for a new PTA movie. One of my favorite directors of all time. Obviously, you've got There Will Be Blood. You've got Boogie Nights. You've got Magnolia. You've got The Master, which is terrific as well. So he typically doesn't miss. And so far, early reviews saying this is going to be a Best Picture candidate.
Him and Leo have never worked together too, and Leo's talked about the missed opportunities. So finally getting together, like you talked about, that cast is incredible. A Columbia College alum is one of the leading lady in it, the young lady. I forget her name right now.
She is. You also have Tiana Taylor and Regina Hall. Sean Penn is in this movie. Benicio del Toro. So this is going to be a fun cast. I can't wait to see it. I got my tickets for Saturday afternoon. I'll be there seated and ready to take it in.
Yeah, you will. Well, we're out of show. Everybody stay safe out there in these wild times, and go support Jimmy Kimmel tonight. See what he has to say. Hopefully uncensored. Follow at Second City Gridiron for all the Bears news. We got a great week of programming coming up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get the audio-only versions if that suits you better on Spotify, iTunes. Like, subscribe. Tell some friends. Look up the articles that are written on Windy City Gridiron at WC Gridiron. I'm at The Real Evan Mack. Ross is at Ross Reed. Prediction for a score for the Raiders-Bears game?
I've got the Bears winning this football game 31-24. Caleb Williams keeps the momentum going. I also want to say, also go support Wiener Circle. Don't just get free hot dogs from them. Buy hot dogs from them. Just be careful. If you know, but if you order the chocolate milkshake and what you're asking for from there. So, but go support those people as well. Yeah, that's
bring your children for the chocolate milkshake. Make it after hours. Some fine people at a Chicago institution, of course. I'll go Bears 35, Raiders 28. I'm gonna go high scoring affair, but the Raiders are having trouble putting up that many points. So we shall see if the Bears continue this nice offensive showing. Everybody enjoy. Have a great week. For now, we say deuces. Be good to each other. So long, everybody.
Peace.